Welcome to part 2, writing HTML in the notebook. So typically HTML is written in a separate text editor such as VS Code or Sublime, but you can also write it inside of a code cell of a Jupyter notebook using this %HTML magic command. So I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. So here we are in the code cell of a Jupyter notebook, and code cells, by default understand Python. So if we just write some Python code, like some arithmetic operation, it understands that. If we create a list of elements, then we can write Python. And so that's what we've been doing the entire course. We've just been writing Python code inside of these code cells. But what you can do to write HTML, this is pretty interesting. You can write this %HTML magic command, and it takes one option over here called isolated, and this will isolate it from the rest of the HTML in the notebook. So if we use some CSS in here, we're not going to change the CSS for the entire notebook. It will remain isolated to this cell, which is almost always what you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this code, and I'll execute it so that we don't have any Python output right there. So this is how we're going to start all of our code cells, or all of our HTML in the notebook, is with this %HTML magic command followed by the isolated option. Okay, so just to show you, we're going to write some very basic HTML. We're going to use some headers here and a paragraph element to get started. So let's go ahead and write some our first HTML, which we can write a h1 header. So the way it is written is just with this h1 within these angle brackets. And it's good practice to go ahead and write the closing tag as well to go along with it. So you can have an opening and closing tag paired up. So we can just write some header. This is our first HTML in Notebook. Now, what is unfortunate is that you'll have this Python syntax highlighting. So it has nothing to do with HTML. It's written in a Jupyter Notebook cell. So this is just some unfortunate collision between HTML and Python. So the cell itself doesn't know we're writing HTML until we actually execute it. So you'll see this, and you'll have to just ignore some of these words that are meant for writing Python. Okay, so we're just writing a header here, and when we execute this, then the output down below the cell will render the HTML. So this is an h1 header. This is the largest header. We can write a paragraph like this, some paragraph of text like that. So that'll come up over here. So paragraph tag is very simple. It doesn't do a whole lot. It just puts text on its own line in the normal font of the web page. Let's go ahead and write some other headers. We can just use an h3 header and some smaller header. So this is the content part. And again, let's make sure we're being precise here. We have the opening tag, the closing tag, and then the actual content of the element like that. Okay, so that's how we write HTML in the notebook, and this is how we're going to write all of our HTML for the rest of this chapter.